Hey, Beyondrew here. Now let's talk about Jeff Bezos, the entrepreneur, philanthropist, and investor, and possibly Superman's greatest enemy? Well, he wants the future to build a giant rotating space colony in space. The mission is called Blue Origin, and I think it's a good idea. Here's why. The truth is, humans use a lot of energy. We use energy to power our cars, homes, and devices we use every day. As civilizations become more advanced, the demand for energy will increase. On top of that, the population of Earth will be increasing by the billions by the end of this century. Some people say that solar panels will be the answer for Earth's energy crisis. And yes, solar panels have become very efficient over the years. Today, you could actually provide enough energy for the world if you covered Nevada in solar cells, according to Bezos. But if the current trend of technological development and population growth continues, in 200 years from now, you would have to cover the entire surface of the Earth with solar panels in order to provide enough energy for everybody. There's just not enough space and resources on Earth to sustain a future population. Jeff Bezos envisions a future where trillions of people can exist and live. That's right, trillions. Technically, the surface of the Earth has enough surface area for 1 trillion people to physically stand comfortably on. But the demand for energy will increase exponentially, so we would have to ration resources and energy expenditure. In a future like that, the standard of living would be worse than it is today. The only answer to this is to expand out into the solar system. With all the material in the solar system, such as asteroids, comets, and our own moon, there's a virtually unlimited amount of resources to make use of. So for trillions of people to live and thrive in the future, we're gonna need a lot more space. Jeff Bezos thinks the best way to colonize space is with giant rotating space colonies. He was inspired by the physics professor Gerard O'Neill. He basically asked his class if planetary surfaces in our solar system are the best to expand onto. Interestingly, O'Neill and his class realized that building a colony in space that orbits the Earth would have many advantages over colonizing Mars or other moons in the solar system. One reason is being that Mars is really far, and it would take several years to complete a round trip. Also, the gravity on Mars is 1/3 that of Earth. The year spent in zero gravity traveling to Mars, plus the weak gravity on Mars, can collectively cause a lot of issues. Prolonged weightlessness can cause bones and muscles to weaken. And for some reason, it could be the reason visual acuity decreases in space. That's right, some astronauts go into space with 20/20 vision, but when they return home, they have to wear glasses permanently. Living in space would be awesome and all, but the deterioration of my eyes isn't worth the experience if you ask me. That's why O'Neill and his students cooperatively created the O'Neill cylinder. The O'Neill cylinder would consist of 2 cylinders that rotated in opposite directions to cancel out the gyroscopic effects of spinning. When objects rotate, even in zero gravity, it creates centrifugal forces. This force is what is used to create artificial gravity. Just think about the elementary school project where you spin a bucket of water around on a string hard enough the water doesn't fall out. The concept of a spinning world in space would be very similar to the Halo ring world seen in the Halo Xbox games. Now, if only some other billionaire was inspired by Halo to construct real orbiting Halo space stations. I'm looking at you, Mark Zuckerberg. Now, this is very interesting because constructing an O'Neill cylinder that orbits Earth greatly contrasts Elon Musk's SpaceX designs and his plans to enable people to live on other planets, starting with Mars. For the distant future, I think Elon Musk has the right idea about colonizing planets within and without our solar system. I mean, who wouldn't want to live on Mars? But within 1 to 200 years, Jeff Bezos and his team might have the right idea with orbiting space colonies. Although living on another planet sounds so much cooler, living on a space colony first might be more practical. Eventually, O'Neill cylinders could sustain trillions of people in space in the future. With trillions of people orbiting in space, you could probably live in a sector of space where everybody shares the same political ideas. And with that many people, it would be like living in a hypothetical world where everyone's a Democrat or everyone's Republican. Living in a space colony where everyone had the same political ideas would be pretty interesting. I wonder how that would turn out. The important thing is that you would be no longer confined to the limitations of living on Earth. You could probably make your own society with its own rules in a future space colony. There's no reason to follow Earth's rules in space. And think about it, you would have the most amazing experience living in a space colony. Bezos envisions that some areas of the space colony can have reduced gravity. This means that you'll be able to do some pretty unearthly activities like zero gravity sports or going on a zero gravity date. The colonies in space will never have to worry about hurricanes, earthquakes, blizzards, or tornadoes, which would kind of suck for kids in space because they would never get snow days. I don't think that the idea of a paradise or a utopia could actually exist in our natural world, but I think that Jeff Bezos' idea of wanting to build orbiting space colonies in space is a step towards the right direction. The first step begins with Blue Origin. Bezos announced the Blue Origin's Blue Moon lander. The Blue Moon's design, architecture, and reusability will reduce the cost of space travel and sending things into orbit. By reusing rockets instead of throwing many components away like NASA does, going into space will be a lot cheaper. By industrializing the moon first, we can harvest a lot of the moon's resources and create things like rocket fuel. And also, industrializing the moon will provide the necessary stepping stone and the pathway for Jeff Bezos spinning space colonies in space. The Blue Moon mission hopes to inspire and help entrepreneurs in the future to create industries off Earth. Eventually, we'll have the technological capability and the available resources in space to construct the O'Neill colonies with trillions of inhabitants. So there's a lot of space in the universe. There's no need to stay cramped on one tiny blue planet.